welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And if you listen to our last episode, we said that this episode would be a duel between the Ray and Photon. And then we decided, hey, it's our show, we can change it up if we want to, right?
Really what we didn't want to have happen was have two characters with powers that are so similar that they just couldn't affect each other in any way.
Right. It was a beam of light going up against a beam of light. And what happened with our Elastigirl versus Ms. Marvel episode, even though we had a clear winner, describing the battle itself was kind of a challenge. It was like a piece of putty going up against a piece of putty. We didn't want to do the same thing. And the challenge in choosing these duels is to find two characters that aren't like 100% alike, but close enough to make an interesting battle.
Right.
So this episode will be Metamorpho, the Element Man from DC, who can transform and turn his body into any element he wants to,
right,
against the Super-Skrull, who is also a shapeshifter, but also has all the powers of the Fantastic Four. And we decided to go with the Super-Skrull because the Skrulls, of course, are going to be the primary villain in the Captain Marvel film, which releases this week, and we will be reviewing in our next episode.
I can't believe it's this week.
Yeah, it came up quick. So yeah, we think this will be a good substitute match, far more interesting to listen to. So go ahead and look forward to that later on this episode. Before we get into our duel matchup, we will be discussing the latest comic book movie news involving Marvel and DC, including the new Shazam trailer that dropped, as well as the Dark Phoenix official trailer that came out. We will also be discussing the casting of Superboy in the Titans Season 2 show.
Right, and as always, we list all of our topics in our episode description, so feel free to use that as a guide to jump to whatever segment you want to listen to.
We want to give a quick shout out to Mestis83 for leaving us a review on iTunes. We're now up to 79 ratings on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, and we're trying to get to 200 because at that point we're eligible to become critics on the Rotten Tomatoes website and have our reviews of the Marvel and DC films count toward the official Rotten Tomatoes Tomato Meter.
Yeah, and just a reminder, if you're unable to give us a rating on iTunes, please share our show with your friends and family. Let them know about it because some of them may enjoy our show and be able to give us a rating on iTunes.
Yeah, any way you guys can help us reach our goal, whether it be through ratings or shares, would just be amazing, super appreciated, and all of those who have already helped us work towards our goal, we love you guys. We just wanted to say that. We love you. We're not in love, but we do love you. But with that out of the way,
quick to the No Prize. So No Prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post to social media that I personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question was, in a strictly Marvel and DC award show, which film in their cinematic histories would you give the award for Best Picture?
There's no real wrong answer here because you guys all named fantastic movies that in their own subjective way are Best Picture. These are all great films. So everyone that we're giving honorable mention to, you're winners in our book just as much as the winners who are actually winning the No Prize.
Right.
If that makes sense.
So honorable mention starting off goes to CJ Kraft for his answer Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That, of course, did win Best Animated Feature at the last Oscars. So, yeah, it could totally be a contender for Best Picture overall. I love that movie so much. I praised it so much in our review. And since it's come out on digital download, I've watched it like 3 times. It's so amazing. I love that film. So, great answer. Honorable mention also goes to John Kellman, who gave the answer of Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. Note the Ultimate Edition in that.
Right. And I have to say, I love this answer. Like, I know people really
love to shit on Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, but they haven't seen the Ultimate Edition because that thing was as close to like a Zack Snyder masterpiece as you can get.
Really? I will say that the Ultimate Edition was far superior to the theatrical version because they didn't fuck it up by removing so much of the story, but they also did retain some story elements, such as like the nightmare sequence, that just weren't necessary.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the film could be further improved upon, honestly, even beyond the Ultimate Edition. I want to come up with the Marvelous Joe edition of Batman vs. Superman.
I just want like the Snyder cut of the Justice League. Like I would want that before I need another Batman v Superman cut.
That's true.
It's never going to happen, but in my dreams.
Shout out to George Kronitis, who gave the answer of Batman from 1989, which he said should have beaten out Driving Miss Daisy. I've never actually seen Driving Miss Daisy, so...
But I agree.
I can't comment on that, but yes. Great answer.
Also, shout out to Ken Johnson, who gave the answer Superman the Movie, which started everything.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't give the no prize to this answer because Superman the movie really was such an incredible film that was so influential. It was just really well made.
The more I watch that film, the more I appreciate it.
It's so epic.
It is so epic, and it was so well shot and so well done. I mean, there's a lot of like Lex Luthor elements that I don't really care for, but the rest of it is just phenomenal. It's
Christopher Reeve, man.
Yeah, just amazing to watch that film.
If I were a DC fan, I would be giving the no prize to that answer.
If there was another answer that we got a bunch of, I would be giving it to this.
Congrats to Caleb Albers. You get honorable mention for your answer of Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is actually my personal favorite Marvel film. I know it's not a perfect film. Technically, Infinity War is a much grander achievement, but on a personal level, I connect more with the themes and the action and the style of the Winter Soldier film. And so, yeah, fantastic answer, great answer. There was another person who gave the answer of the Winter Soldier, which was Adrian Maines, who also gave the joke answer of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's just a joke answer. But no, with the Winter Soldier, I sort of consider that to be Marvel's The Dark Knight.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a dark, down-to-earth, gritty thriller.
Yeah. Speaking of The Dark Knight, we want to award this week's no prize to Mitch Phipps, Jonathan Hazelton, and Matt Estes, who gave the answer The Dark Knight because, of course, that should have won. Of course that should have won. You have no idea how angry I was when it wasn't even nominated that year. I'm still angry about it.
Matt Estes also gave the answer of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which we already talked about. But on the Marvel side of things, I'm also giving the no prize to Joel Seagrave, who gave the answer of Infinity War, because, yeah, it was just a stunning technical achievement in terms of special effects, in terms of story, in terms of what they were able to juggle there. And we gave it 5 stars in our review. If you haven't listened to our review of Infinity War, be sure to check that out. I am surprised that nobody gave the answer of Black Panther, which actually was nominated for Best Picture, as we all know, or Logan.
Yeah, I thought there were going to be a few Logans here.
Yeah, Logan, I think, is by far the best Marvel movie that was not produced by Marvel Studios.
Absolutely. And better than a lot of movies that were produced by Marvel Studios.
Exactly. It was such a well-made film. But yeah, there were so many answers that you guys could have given. Love all the answers that you did, except for Suicide Squad, but that was a joke. But yeah, congrats again to
the Oscar-winning Suicide Squad.
Fuck you. Also, congrats to Joel Seagrave, Mitch Phipps, Jonathan Hazelton, and Matt Estes. You guys win this week's no prize. And if you, the listener, want to try to win a Dynamic Duel no prize next week, go ahead and stay tuned for our upcoming question of the week.
With all of that out of the way, on to the news. Okay, so Monday this week, we finally got the second trailer for Shazam. I've been waiting for this for like forever, it feels like.
It's been a while. It
has been a while. And it didn't disappoint. I mean, I can't say I walked away from it like completely sold and thrilled on the movie, but it was funny. It had a lot of things going for it.
Yeah, I thought it was quite enjoyable. I was really hoping to be blown away by this trailer by the time it came, though, because as we all know, the movie's coming out next month.
Right.
So I think that all those people that were like on the fence about this film should have been steered toward wanting to see this film. And I don't think that this was necessarily the trailer to do that.
To me, I think the biggest disappointment from this trailer was just the fact that I feel like we've seen so much of it already.
It did rehash many of the beats from the first teaser.
Like everything from like the "I'll have your finest beer, please" to, you know, him like leaping off the building at the very beginning. We've seen all of that before.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was really hoping to see something new.
Yeah, I really wanted it to be a story trailer, basically, where we got to see what the hell's going on between Shazam and Dr. Sivana.
Yeah, we still don't know anything about Dr. Sivana, really.
He looks like he's going to be a pretty weak-ass villain, honestly.
I don't know. I'm a fan of Mark Strong as an actor, so I think he'll be fine. And really, ultimately, the villains in this piece are going to be the 7 deadly sins, you know?
But we haven't seen them manifest in any way, shape, or form within this trailer, which would actually be a huge selling point for this film, I think.
I'm wondering if this is the final trailer, honestly.
I mean, it might not be. They may still be working on the special effects, which was possibly why we haven't seen the 7 deadly sins.
I want to see the 7 deadly sins, and I want to see the Shazam family.
I don't think that they should tease the Shazam family in any trailer. I think they should leave that as a surprise.
Maybe. For all we know, Brad Pitt is going to cameo as one of the Shazam family members.
No, he won't do that. He only cameos in Marvel films. So.
We'll see. Matt Damon, he cameos in everything.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, yeah, that's really what I was hoping to get out of this trailer.
Instead, it's just like a lot of like wise cracking joke stuff that's not especially funny. I mean, it looks charming, but
It's charming as hell.
okay, but that's not going to sell me on the film.
No, Zachary Levi, I think he's definitely sold me on the character.
Well, he's already done that by this point.
That's true. But just like the more I see from him as Shazam, the more I like this.
So you're saying that you want to see the movie even more now that you watched this trailer than you did prior?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's the case. I think my excitement level for the film is stagnant.
Well, you're a Marvel fan. So no one cares what you think.
There was one really good beat on this trailer, I will say. I will admit that. And that was the very last comedy beat that they had where Freddy's asking Billy if he can leap tall buildings in a single bound. And so he tries, and he looks like he's going to clear the skyscraper that he's trying to jump over. Yeah. But instead, he just like crashes in through a window, and you hear people screaming.
It's like 3/4 of the way up the skyscraper. He's just like, I'm sorry. That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. You just have to imagine like being like a worker in that office, and then all of a sudden have this guy like crash through the wall.
Yeah. I don't know. There were some other good moments in it when like Freddy's like beating him with like a stick and stuff like that. Just like the different displays of powers. I think they're really trying to sell that in all of these trailers.
They went through like the power tests in the teaser trailer as well.
A few. They went through a couple. He's definitely made a lot of progress from like running up the half pipe to making it almost over a tall building, you know?
Yeah, we should see a nice progression throughout the course of this film, and hopefully he's, the Superman level superhero by the end.
Yeah. One thing that kind of bothered me in this trailer was when he was like, showing a crowd his lightning bolts, and then he fried like a bus tire.
Yeah.
And then he has to save the bus. But I gotta say, the way he caught it, it's not like he lowered it down gently. He like stopped it abruptly. Those people still like fell out of their seats and like slammed into like bars in the window and got really hurt.
Yeah, he stopped the bus way too abruptly. Hopefully there were no people actually inside of it. I assume the driver is still inside of it, honestly.
Right.
So the driver's probably dead with how fast he stopped that bus. You got to let it down gently.
And even when he did let it down, it was still pretty hard. And, Freddy's pretty angry with him, which, rightfully so.
Yeah, luckily Freddy gets to be a hero by the end of this film as well.
Right.
If you know your Shazam lore.
There was a Batman reference in this trailer.
I did not find that funny at all. I thought that was really cheesy. It looked really juvenile, where like he picks up the doll and the doll says, "I'm Batman," and he's like, "Go get him, Batman," and he like throws it. I know it was trying to be funny, but it just didn't land.
Yeah, I wonder why he's throwing toys. Even it's like, did he run out of lightning?
Yeah, right. I don't know.
I think the closest thing we get to any kind of character development for Savannah in this trailer is when he asks Billy how old he is, and Billy's like, basically 15.
That was a good beat. Yeah. I have to admit that was another good one.
Yeah.
But again, I think we've seen that before in some of the marketing material already.
You know what I really wanted to see that we've seen in other promos that we didn't see in this video? Was when they do get the beer and they like first take a sip and they just spit it out and he's like, that literally tastes like vomit.
I think they have to be careful with what they can show in general audience previews. I don't think you can show someone consuming alcohol. Like you could get away with it in a TV spot, but not in this.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Especially like underage kids.
Right.
Drinking alcohol, even if they're spitting it out.
Right, exactly. Hopefully they release another trailer for this film before it comes out in April, because I don't really think this is going to do enough to make any converts out of people.
I'm kind of worried that they're not going to. I'm kind of worried that this is the final trailer.
It's not going to be enough.
In which case, yeah, they're not going to make as much money as I think they probably would want to. Who knows? That's the opening box office weekend. If it has good word of mouth, which I think it will, I think a lot of kids are going to love this film.
You think it'll have good word of mouth?
Yeah.
I think this will be a perfectly adequate superhero film.
I don't think
it's going to be anything special.
Is perfectly adequate.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. I didn't want to say anything more than that because we almost have the same face.
That's right. All right, moving on to the Dark Phoenix trailer. God, this is a piece of shit. Oh my gosh. Well,
it's boring. It's boring.
It's a boring trailer. It really is.
Like the whole like energy of it is really low.
It is. And honestly, it feels like we've seen a lot of it before, which kind of takes away from some of the impact that it may have had.
Yeah, and you don't mean like in other promotional material, but you mean like X-Men 3.
Right. I mean that a lot of this looks like it came from X-Men 3, which was a film that was written by Simon Kinberg, who is the writer and director of this film. And it's almost like he's trying to redeem himself as far as the Dark Phoenix storyline goes, but what he's really doing is giving us a lot of the same.
Why did they think that the guy who gave us X-Men 3 and X-Men Apocalypse
and
Fantastic would be good for the franchise?
Because Fox is stupid, that's why.
And that's why they're no longer around.
well, they're no longer around because they wanted money and they sold to Disney. But thank God they did that. Thank God this is like going to be the last X-Men film from Fox, or if not, maybe the second to last, depending on what happens with New Mutants, which we're still not sure about.
Yeah, I keep hearing that it's either going to be on Hulu or Disney Plus.
Yeah. I do have to say, when the trailer opens with Sophie Turner crying in the rain in the alleyway, I thought it was going to be good. Like, it started off pretty well because I think Sophie Turner is a great actress.
Yeah.
I've recently started watching Game of Thrones, and I think she's just fantastic.
Oh, finally, dude.
I know, finally, right?
Jeez, I've been trying to get you to watch that show forever.
Yeah, I don't TV correctly, so I'm just starting to watch it. But I think she will do well in this role. I just have no faith in the story itself.
I'm really surprised that they kind of start this trailer off with such a massive spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, it's allegedly a spoiler, but yeah, it's pretty much a spoiler, right? We see that Jean Grey essentially kills Mystique. And that's probably due to the fact that Jennifer Lawrence just really wants out of her X-Men contract because she really hates these films and she hates making them. And we all hate her for hating the films.
I hate her look in this film. It's a pretty big departure from her previous films.
It fucking looks like a Mystique cosplay.
It does.
I swear. Like, they've toned down the blue so much. It looks like she was just painted. Like, the scales are just limited to her forehead. The wig that she's wearing is just atrocious.
And you could almost see, like, some of, like, the pink in her skin, like, peek through the blue hue.
Exactly.
It's horrible. It's horribly done.
So poorly done. But the sequence that follows that in the trailer is the space sequence, which actually does look pretty damn impressive with the special effects that they have going on here. It looks like the X-Jet is trying to rescue another craft, like a shuttle or something like that, and Jean somehow teleports onto that craft, probably with the help of Nightcrawler, and then she absorbs all of this radiation or something.
And they kind of ruined that shot from the first trailer, in my opinion, because in the first trailer, like, you see this figure, like, absorbing all of this fire energy.
Right.
And then, like, it's all black.
Yes.
And in this one, they added scenery to it.
Yes.
I just thought it was a really interesting, stark composition in the first trailer. And here,
Yeah.
not so much.
It was certainly more symbolic in the first trailer. In this one, it's very literal. And although I do like the pink effects that they added to the fire, again, I think it worked as a stronger image to have everything go black as she's absorbing all of that energy.
Right, you're right. That was like my favorite part of the first trailer. Mm-hmm. And now, there's nothing for me here. There's nothing.
We don't really get any more information on who Jessica Chastain's character is. She's obviously manipulating Dark Phoenix, like revealing her potential through this optical illusion or something, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, there were rumors early on that she was like Queen of the Skrulls. I seriously
way
doubt
early on.
that by this point.
It's so ironic that when we were first talking about that story way back in the day, we were so pissed off that Fox was going to try to make a play on the Skrulls before Marvel Studios was going to be able to. And ironically, Dark Phoenix was delayed so much that the Captain Marvel movie is coming out before Dark Phoenix.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, Marvel Studios kind of gets the last laugh there. I don't think it'll end up being that Jessica Chastain is a Skrull alien.
Well, then who the hell is she?
Who the hell knows?
Seriously.
Yeah. There's an interesting action beat here. We're going to have another Quicksilver scene, basically. It's so weird how it's manifested here, though. We see Jean causing a lot of havoc and destruction with a bunch of debris floating through the air, and Quicksilver is actually running on top of that debris. Now, we saw him do something similar in X-Men Apocalypse, where he's running on the debris caused by Magneto. But to me, this instance doesn't make as much sense in terms of physics, because I think that Magneto was providing like a strong magnetic or gravitational whatever structure for Quicksilver to be running on. Now here, Quicksilver wouldn't be able to be running on these flying pieces of debris without gravity taking over, unless, Jean Grey was supporting those as stepping stones. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Is she wearing, like, the red trench coat that she also wore in X-Men 3 in that scene?
A lot of people are confusing that as the same outfit. She is wearing a long coat. It's a brown coat, however. It's not the exact same one that Dark Phoenix was wearing in X-Men 3. But who thinks that Dark Phoenix should be wearing a damn trench coat?
Like Simon Kinberg?
Simon Kinberg.
He's the only one.
So stupid. She needs to be having, like, her godlike Phoenix costume, from the comics. That would be so much cooler than what we're getting here. I mean, there's not much else to talk about regarding the trailer. There are a few more action beats, but not nearly enough, I think, to make me excited for this film, because, again, we've seen it all before. I think the coolest action shot from this trailer was when Beast, like, flipped over the camera. That was pretty cool.
I think the coolest action beat was when Magneto, grabbed all the automatic rifles from, like, the walls and was just firing away. We've never seen him do that.
We saw him manipulate tons of weapons in the very first X-Men movie and threaten the police with them. Now, we didn't see him actually fire them. No, he did fire him, and he stopped the bullet from killing that guy right before it went into his head. So, I don't know.
That is much more profound.
This wasn't as impressive to me. We see Storm using her lightning. The final shot, which apparently was part of the reshoots that they did, was this train sequence where we see Dark Phoenix, like, I guess, rescuing the other mutants from this train, and she's, like, lifting it up into the air and everything like that. But I think we've seen Magneto do something similar in these movies as well, where he tears apart trains or flips vehicles up into the air and stuff like that.
Is she rescuing them or is she fighting them?
That is a good question. I think she's rescuing them because they're all locked in that train car with the mutant restraining collars around their neck that we saw in the Deadpool 2 film.
Is the government the villain again in this film?
Most likely, because they always are in these X-Men films most of the time.
That's true.
I think it's going to be the government as well as Jessica Chastain's character, as well as Dark Phoenix, obviously.
I kind of feel like they dropped the ball on the timing of this last scene in the trailer because, like, they show the title and the music ends and the trailer should be over, but it's not. You still have, an entire scene left.
Well, I think it's powerful to end on that X in the Dark Phoenix logo. I think it's actually a well-designed logo for the film. But yeah, you're right. They go on for like another 30 seconds with this action beat that, again, not that all impressive considering everything that we've seen throughout these films. So yeah, overall disappointing, and I'm not looking forward to it. Again, I mean, who knows? We might be eating our words come June 7th, and it might be like the most amazing X-Men film ever made. Who the hell knows?
You're right.
But, judging from the test screenings, judging from the footage that we've seen, it's likely that's not going to happen.
This really didn't, like, increase my confidence in the film and seeing this film.
Right,
at all.
So with that being said, that brings us to our question of the week. So what was the better trailer to come out in the past week? Was it the Shazam official trailer 2? Or was it this Dark Phoenix official trailer?
Yeah, it's like Marvel versus DC in a trailer duel.
Yeah, but it's going to be determined by your answers. So we want to hear why you guys think a particular trailer is better than the other.
And let us know
why not.
Yeah, let us know which one makes you want to see that film more.
Yeah. Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. I have to say that although X-Men Dark Phoenix looks like it'll be shitty, I still think it was a better trailer than the Shazam one.
What? Yeah. I think most people would disagree with you.
All right, let's find out next week. Let's move on to the news about Joshua Orpin, who was cast as Superboy.
Yeah, so at the end of season 1 of the Titans TV show on DC Universe, they teased Superboy. They had this guy, we couldn't see his face, but the dude was like swole. Yep. He was really ripped. He was walking out of this laboratory and he went to a white dog, broke the dog out. The dog turned out to be Crypto. And then we see like this Superman kind of barcode tattooed on the man's shoulder.
Superman barcode?
Yeah, it was something from the New 52 comics that Superboy had.
Okay.
So now in the New 52, the Superboy who had that barcode tattoo was the clone of John Kent from the future, Superman and Lois Lane's son.
Oh.
If you remember our Superboy versus Rogue episode, I mentioned him briefly.
Yes.
I'm really hoping it's not that version.
You want it to be Connor Kent.
Right. Well, they're both Con-El.
Oh, really?
But one of them is a clone of Superman and Lex Luthor, and the other is a clone of Superman's son.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I definitely have a preference. I really hope it's not the clone of Superman's son. The tattoo kind of worries me, but we'll see. I'm just excited that he's in season 2. Again, this was already teased. I don't know too much about Joshua Orpin. He doesn't have like anything notable on his IMDb credits.
He looks the part.
He does look the part. And, based on the other casting, they nailed the casting for this series, honestly. Like, their casting is top notch.
Yeah.
So I have total faith and total confidence in the casting directors for this role. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, what makes me most excited about this is that, yeah, we're getting a season 2, which we kind of already knew. I think that it starts filming maybe next month, I think it was.
Okay, so it should be released probably towards the end of this year?
I don't know. It's not on the schedule for this year.
Okay.
But maybe they'll finally give us more than one episode a week. That'd be awesome. That'd be really cool, actually.
Yeah, if it's bingeable over the course of a weekend, then yeah, we'll review it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to switch to like the all-at-once kind of release schedule.
Oh, man.
I think it's still going to be weekly, but no. Yeah, season 2 is happening. Superboy's going to be in it. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
How is a character as powerful as Superboy going to change the team dynamic, do you think?
I don't know. They're definitely going to have to increase their budget for season 2 because they got away with, showing only minimal power usage in season 1. But you can't have a character like Superboy with super strength and all those things and not put more money into it. I mean, they did have Wonder Girl who has like super strength and stuff like that.
But Starfire.
And yeah, that's true. Starfire does have super strength. But she was also like amnesiac, so she like didn't know she had that. So yeah, it was kind of convenient.
Yeah.
I'm excited. This gets me really excited for Titans season 2. Again, I liked the first season. It was a pretty big departure from the comics, but it was still good. and I'm hoping that season 2 will be even better.
Doom Patrol still going well?
Yes. Yeah, the second episode was all right. It was the introduction to Cyborg. But this last episode, the third episode, was really cool. They went to go fight like Nazis in South America. It was just a really good episode.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that does it for all the news. Let's go ahead and get into our duel where we find out who would win in a fight between Metamorpho and the Super-Skrull.
Let's do it!
All right, Metamorpho versus Super-Skrull. Again, we were originally going to do the Ray versus Photon match this episode, but we decided to go with characters that weren't so similar in order to keep things interesting. So we have Metamorpho versus the Super-Skrull, who I thought kind of had a similar appearance.
Yeah, like half of them is like always on fire, and the other half is like rock.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're very compartmentalized in terms of their look.
Right.
You know, their limbs always look different from like their torso and things like that. And also they have similar powers in that they're shapeshifters and can adapt a myriad number of powers when using their abilities in combination with each other, basically.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. I have honestly no idea who's going to win this.
Or how this battle is even going to go.
Exactly. I think it'll be super interesting, and I think it'll be a little bit more interesting than last week's episode where we put, two stretchy people against each other, These guys can stretch, but they can also do a lot more. And also, of course, again, the Skrulls are going to be the big bad guys in the Captain Marvel movie that comes out next week, so we thought this was an apt time to go ahead and use the Super-Skrull, even though I don't think Kalert is going to be in the Captain Marvel movie.
Was that the name of the Super-Skrull?
Yes. So yeah, if this is your first time listening to one of our Duel episodes, what we do here is we find out who would win in a fight between these characters using their statistics and running those numbers in a probabilistic simulation known as the Monte Carlo simulation. And it's a probabilistic model that is used practically in a whole bunch of different ways, including risk analysis, gambling,
video game AI.
Yeah,
It's known for its accuracy.
yeah, accurate in determining the probabilistic outcomes in models such as these.
With a ton of variables.
Right, exactly. So we take these stats, and the Monte Carlo simulation basically puts the stats along a random distribution. And after randomizing these stat numbers, it compares them against each other 1,000 times to simulate 1,000 matches.
Right, and we get our stats from the official Marvel Power Rankings grid, which you can find on Marvel.com, and we extrapolate the DC stats from that criteria that Marvel set up.
Yeah, so it makes them comparable to each other.
Right. But we also introduce a few more stats just to make a more robust simulation.
Correct. So yeah, the results are not determined by any type of bias. It's not fan votes, and we don't go off of like uncharacteristic feats of strength. We go basically off of their base stats. But before we run the simulations, what we like to do is we like to give a breakdown of each character's history and abilities so that you're more familiar with them, as well as discuss an improvisational scenario and how we think one of those 1,000 simulations would actually pan out.
Yeah, so I think I go first this time, so I'll start with Metamorpho's profile.
Okay.
So Metamorpho, the Element Man, was created in 1965 by Bob Haney, who also created the Doom Patrol, and is similar in respect that he's not really happy that he has superpowers. He sees them much more as a curse than anything. So it's probably fitting that his story begins thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt, when an alchemist discovered an irradiated meteorite and used a fraction of it to fashion a scepter named the Orb of Ra, which irradiated an energy capable of transmuting matter and elemental makeup. The scepter was presented to an Egyptian high priest named Akton, who prophesied that the orb would one day be used as a weapon to help him overthrow the reigning Egyptian pharaoh, Ramesses II. The scepter and the meteorite were buried in the pyramid of Akton, where it was found thousands of years later by a soldier of fortune and adventurer named Rex Mason. Rex had been hired by the scientifically brilliant Simon Stagg, the CEO of Stagg Enterprises, and a genius in genetics, whose accomplishments included reviving a prehistoric Neanderthal man named Java and making him his servant/bodyguard. Java was always jealous of Rex, as he had the admiration of Simon Stagg's daughter, the beautiful Sapphire Stagg. Just before
Really? Her name is Sapphire Stagg?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Her name is Sapphire.
All right. He just wanted her to be a stripper, didn't he?
Damn. So just before Rex's expedition to Egypt, Simon discovered that Sapphire and Rex were dating. He disapproved of their relationship and ordered Java to accompany Rex to stage an accident that would remove Rex from their lives. When Rex found the Orb of Ra, the brutish Java knocked him unconscious and trapped Rex in Octone's pyramid, where he was exposed to the radiation of the meteorite used to make the scepter. The radiation transformed Rex's body into its base elements, which he slowly learned he could transform and control upon awakening. He had become a Metamorphi, as he would later learn, one of many throughout time who served as warriors to the Egyptian sun god Ra in his war against his brother Apep, the serpent god of chaos. Rex used his newfound abilities to escape from the pyramid, after which he discovered he was unable to transform back into his human form. Rex went to Simon Stagg for help in curing his condition and startled Simon, who was frightened by Rex's appearance and assumed that he had come for revenge. Simon tried to shoot Rex, and when that didn't work, he grabbed the Orb of Ra and realized he could forcibly and painfully control Rex and his elements with the scepter. With the threat neutralized, Simon's fear turned into fascination, and after several experiments, he found he was unable to turn Rex back to his normal form. Coming to terms with his new form, thanks in part to Sapphire's continued secret love for him, Rex decided to use his powers for good and became the superhero Metamorpho, occasionally assisted by the scientific mind of Simon Stagg. Metamorpho aided the Justice League early in his career, though he initially rejected membership to their team when he learned that they were also unable to cure him. He did, however, join Batman's team, the Outsiders, after Batman's associate Lucius Fox was kidnapped by the villain Baron Bedlam in the country of Markovia. Metamorpho had been in Markovia at the time, seeking a scientist named Dr. Helga Jace, who could cure him, and he got caught up in Lucius Fox's rescue. The rescue was a success, and the Outsiders team was formed, comprised of Metamorpho, Batman, Katana, and Black Lightning, each of whom you can learn more about in their respective Duel episodes. The team also included newcomers Halo and the Markovian Prince Brian, codenamed Geoforce. The Markovian scientist Dr. Helga Jace was successful in developing a cure for Metamorpho, but before she could administer it, Metamorpho was killed by Simon Stagg with the Orb of Ra due to his continued relationship with his daughter. In an effort to restore him, the Outsiders took his remains to the Pyramid of Octone to try re-exposing him to the meteorite that created him. In the pyramid, they were transported thousands of years into the past to ancient Egypt, where Metamorpho was restored after being exposed to the ancient meteorite. While in the past, the team came into contact with Octone, who used the Orb of Ra to control Metamorpho and turn him into his weapon against Ramesses II, fulfilling his prophecy. The Outsiders were able to free Metamorpho from Octone's control and returned to the future. Octone himself became a Metamorphi in the past due to his exposure to the meteorite. His story will continue in a Black Adam Duel episode we have planned for next month. Upon Metamorpho's return to the present, he learned that his second exposure to the meteorite allowed him to transform into elements outside those found in the human body, but also made Dr. Jace's cure ineffective. His disheartenment was quickly replaced with joy when Sapphire proposed marriage upon his return.
Wait, she proposed to him?
Yes.
Oh.
After the Outsiders foiled an assassination attempt on Simon Stagg, he felt better about his daughter's engagement to a Metamorphi, and he gave their marriage his blessing. After their marriage, Metamorpho and Sapphire tried unsuccessfully to conceive a child. Dr. Jace hypothesized that fusing Metamorpho's DNA with the humans could help the couple, but as she was about to start the experiment, a rogue race of intergalactic robots, known as the Manhunters, activated sleeper agents on Earth, one of whom turned out to be Dr. Jace. She instead activated a trigger that she placed in Metamorpho prior, taking control of him and using him to defeat the rest of the Outsiders. The Outsiders eventually came to and helped fight back the Manhunter invasion, during which Metamorpho and Dr. Jace both died in an energy surge caused by Dr. Jace. Metamorpho's body was reconstituted years later during the Invasion miniseries when other alien invaders known as the Dominators dropped a gene bomb on Earth. He awakened with amnesia and continued his crime-fighting career as a member of the Justice League Europe with no memory of his family. Sapphire sought Metamorpho out upon his return, at which point Metamorpho learned that due to his death, Sapphire was pressured into marrying Java, and that she and Metamorpho were actually successful in conceiving a child years prior. They had a son named Joey, who bore his father's curse of sorts. Instead of transforming his body into elements, he could transform objects that he touched, and therefore, he had to be contained in Simon Stagg's laboratory. Prevented from seeing his son by Simon, Metamorpho became distraught until he met another Metamorphi named Jillian Conway, who found hieroglyphics containing the secret to curing their condition, and Joey's. Metamorpho kidnapped his son, stole the Orb of Ra, and went with Jillian back to Octone's pyramid, where they tragically learned that Jillian misread the hieroglyphics. The ritual, meant to cure them, instead fully transformed Jillian into non-sentient chemical elements. In the confusion, Joey wandered to the pyramid's meteorite and touched it, which rendered both his powers and the meteorite inert, effectively curing him.
Interesting.
Metamorpho returned to the Justice League and later sacrificed himself to save his teammates when the Justice League satellite was destroyed by white Martians. When they crashed to Earth, his remains were scattered, though he was eventually able to reform his body when his spirit made contact with the Orb of Ra. One fragment of his body, however, gained sentience of its own and joined a new version of the Outsiders under the name Shift. Initially reluctant to remerge with Metamorpho, Shift eventually did remerge after he was accidentally responsible for the death of 44 bystanders during a battle, and Metamorpho took his place on the new team. Metamorpho is one of the few characters whose history was not rewritten by the New 52. Recently, after being forced to transform into Nth Metal by Simon Stagg, Metamorpho got caught up in an adventure with Mr. Terrific and Plastic Man in the Dark Multiverse, and they have since formed a team known as the Terrifics. Power-wise, Metamorpho has complete control over the elemental makeup of his body, allowing him to transform any part of himself into any element or elemental compound in a solid, liquid, or gas state. This ability also lets him reshape his body, effectively allowing him to transform into any object he wants, whether a tank or a cloud. The nature of his body also grants him superhuman durability and resistance to damage.
Oh, is that it? Is that all he could do?
Yes, that's all you need. When you can do that, you can do anything.
It's interesting how many of DC superheroes have their origins in ancient Egypt. Like, you have Metamorpho, you have Dr. Fate, you have Hawkman, and you have Black Adam.
And Shazam.
Yeah. Whereas, like, Marvel only has Apocalypse and Moon Knight and maybe some others that I just can't think of, but not like a whole lot of major ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, ancient Egypt was pretty, like, mysterious and interesting. So.
Yeah, I get that. So let's go ahead and move on to the Super-Skrull, also known as Kl'rt. Now, before I get into his backstory, I want to get into a little bit of the Skrull backstory, which kind of ties into some of the previous duels that we've done, where I go into like Marvel's ancient mythology involving the Celestials and whatnot.
Yeah.
You can learn more about the Celestials in our Aquaman versus Namor duel, as well as our Darkseid versus Thanos duel. And in this one, we get more into the Celestials' relationship with the Skrull race.
Yeah, I think I have like a working knowledge of like the Kree's history.
Yeah, I got into that a little bit in our Captain Marvel episode, as well as the Black Bolt versus Shazam episode.
Yeah.
So go ahead and check those out if you guys are at all interested in like ancient Marvel history.
Yeah.
So millions of years ago, the cosmic beings known as the Celestials would travel the universe and experiment on primitive life forms to test their genetic potential. As they transformed Homo erectus into deviants, eternals, and mutants on Earth, they also created deviants, eternals, and mutants out of a primitive race of beings on the planet Skrullos in the Drox system of the Andromeda Galaxy. So on Earth, again, the Eternals defeated the deviants and left the planet to colonize Saturn's moon of Titan, leaving the Earth for regular humans with the potential for genetic mutation. On Skrullos, however, it was a different story. The Skrull deviants went to war with the Skrull Eternals and Skrull mutants and destroyed them both, becoming the planet's primary race. These deviant Skrulls, whom I'll just refer to as Skrulls from now on, used their advanced scientific knowledge and natural shape-shifting abilities to conquer their planet. And they went on to conquer every life-sustaining world in the entire Andromeda Galaxy, creating the universe's oldest interstellar empire, rivaled only by the Kree and the Shi'ar aliens. Though it was the Kree Empire that the Skrulls inadvertently created when a group of Skrull ambassadors visited the Kree homeworld of Hala and were eventually killed. They left their ship behind for the Kree to unlock the secrets of interplanetary travel. It was an act that started the Kree-Skrull War that would last for hundreds of thousands of years. Kl'rt, and that's spelled K-L''RT, was a Skrull who would one day be known as the Super-Skrull. He was born on the planet Tarnax 4 and was a decorated, renowned soldier in the Skrull army who had helped lay siege to dozens of planets. He started a family on the planet Zaraxna with his wife, his son Zarnog, and his daughter Jazinda. However, after a series of defeats in battle, including against the Earth heroes the Fantastic Four, Kl'rt was disgraced from the Skrull army and banished from his homeworld. He found an opportunity to regain his former glory when the Empire began looking for recruits to be artificially augmented for battle. Kl'rt volunteered and was implanted with receptors that would absorb a constant transmission of cosmic rays, granting him the powers of each member of the Fantastic Four. With these newfound abilities, he became known as Super-Skrull. During a battle, Mr. Fantastic deduced the source of Kl'rt's powers and defeated him by blocking the cosmic ray transmission signal and trapping him inside a dormant volcano. The Super-Skrull escaped, but was forced to retreat when Reed created a weapon capable of destroying the Skrull planet and threatened to use it. The ongoing Kree-Skrull War spilled over onto Earth when the Skrulls learned about the Kree alien Mar-Vell, aka Captain Marvel, who was sent to spy on Earth's heroes to determine if they were a threat to the Kree homeworld. Kl'rt was sent to investigate Mar-Vell and ended up fighting him on multiple occasions, once even using his shapeshifting abilities to impersonate Carol Danvers, whom Mar-Vell had fallen in love with. You can learn more about Carol Danvers in our Supergirl vs. Captain Marvel episode. Disguised as Carol, Kl'rt managed to take Mar-Vell, Quicksilver, and the Scarlet Witch back to the Skrull homeworld as prisoners, though they were eventually rescued by the Avengers, who also temporarily put an end to the Kree-Skrull War as well. Kl'rt was instrumental in assisting Thanos obtain the Cosmic Cube by helping him capture Captain Marvel and hold him prisoner on Titan while Thanos executed his bid for power. He later fought Spider-Man and Ms. Marvel while trying to steal a Star Drive crystal, but they were able to weaken the energy signal that gave him his powers much like Mr. Fantastic, and use the crystal to teleport Kl'rt into hyperspace. He eventually found his way back to the Skrull Empire and learned that not only had Galactus devoured the throne world of the Skrulls, but that the entire race, except for Kl'rt, had lost their ability to shapeshift.
Oh shit.
With the help of the Silver Surfer's Power Cosmic, he and the Skrull Empress Sybil were able to restore the Skrull race's natural polymorph abilities. He was hailed as a hero among the Skrull people, and he further attempted to win Sybil's favor by returning to Earth to fight the Hulk, the Heroes for Hire, Namor the Submariner, and Thor.
Dang.
Losing each time, he returned to his new homeworld disgraced, and was given command of a menial patrol ship. He came back to Earth seeking out a half-Skrull, half-Kree offspring known as Teddy Altman, aka the Hulkling of the Young Avengers team, who was ordered to be brought into custody by both the Kree and Skrull empires. Kl'rt disguised himself as Hulkling with his consent as a means to spy on the Kree Empire, but before he could enact his plan, the Annihilation Wave, led by Annihilus from the Negative Zone, invaded to destroy most of the Skrull Empire and much of the Marvel Universe. Super-Skrull convinced Mr. Fantastic to send him into the Negative Zone where he might find a way to defeat the Annihilation Wave. He went on a spree of destruction, killing anyone who wouldn't join him, and eventually found the creator of Annihilus's planet-killing superweapon called the Harvester of Sorrows, and had him create a virus to destroy the Harvester. Kl'rt came back to the positive universe with an army, and ended up sacrificing his life to demolish Annihilus's superweapon. Allegedly. Actually, he had turned up alive after having been rescued by Firelord, one of Galactus' former heralds who was also fighting against Annihilus's forces. Immediately after that attack, Super-Skrull teamed up with the Kree warrior Ronan the Accuser to fight off an invasion of techno-parasitic aliens known as the Phalanx, who were being led by Ultron, and you can learn more about that invasion in our Adam Strange vs. Star-Lord duel. Kl'rt did not play a major role in the Secret Invasion storyline, as he was left out of Empress Varanke's plans to take over Earth through Skrulls that were posing as some of Earth's mightiest heroes, as during that time he was mainly just focused on searching for his lost daughter Jazinda. And also he had formed allies with many of Earth's heroes after fighting alongside them in the Annihilation War. After the Secret Invasion, Kl'rt joined a galactic council of extraterrestrial leaders that helped fight the Builders and defeat Thanos' Black Order, after which he was crowned as the new emperor of the Skrull Empire, where he still reigns.
Oh wow.
Power-wise, as a Skrull, he has natural shapeshifting powers that allow him to take the appearance of whomever he wants, as well as stretch, shrink, and grow. In addition, all Skrulls possess a hypnotic gaze that allow them to telepathically influence the minds of others through direct eye contact.
What?
Due to his technical enhancements that allow him to absorb cosmic rays, he also has the powers of the Fantastic Four, though amplified to an even greater extent. This means he can burn hotter than the Human Torch, even turning himself into a plasma form. He's stronger and more resilient than the Thing, who can lift 100 tons. And like Invisible Woman, whom you can learn more about in our Mira vs. Invisible Woman duel, he can turn himself invisible and psionically create invisible constructs to use as weapons and force fields, though they are even more durable than what she can render. He's also a master fighter, having trained in the Skrull military in armed and unarmed combat. So you're fucked.
Big whoop. Big fucking whoop. No, actually, I'm scared.
Yeah, he's pretty powerful. He's no pushover. He goes up against the likes of the entire Fantastic Four team, against Thor, against people like the Silver Surfer. He's a major heavy hitter within the Marvel Cosmic Universe.
Oh, yeah? Well, Metamorpho wants to take out the entire Outsiders team.
Big whoop, I could take out the entire Outsiders team.
It's DC.
So now that we've gone over the histories and powers of each of these characters, what we like to do is we like to speculate on how we think a battle between the two would go before running the simulations. Now, we don't set any rules for this battle, save for the fact that the characters don't know anything about each other upon first meeting, and they start about 50 yards apart from each other, and they fight in an arena that has no effect on the battle whatsoever. It's a non-environment, basically.
Right. They do know that each other are threats and that they need to take down the other threat.
Right.
That's the one thing they know.
Right. So yeah, let's get this started. Metamorpho on one side, Super-Skrull on the other. They meet each other. They have to defeat each other. How does it go down?
I feel like my C in chemistry is really going to be apparent in this speculation.
Yeah, you're going to have to do a lot of, find out what combusts and whatnot.
Exactly. And be like, what's that element? What's that chemical?
I don't know, magnesium or something. All right, I think since Super-Skrull is the villain of this particular matchup, and he is somewhat ruthless.
He's much more of a warrior.
Right,
sounds like.
Exactly. He's going to make the first move.
Okay.
And so what he's going to do is he's going to create like a giant fireball using the Human Torch's powers, and he's just going to hurl it right at Metamorpho.
Okay, so that's when Metamorpho takes his right arm and he transforms it into fire retardant, and he just sprays it at the fireball.
What element is fire retardant?
Fuck you! I don't know.
I need specifics here.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't need any specifics. What's in a fire extinguisher? Like those chemicals. Okay, just Googled it. Bromine, chlorine, phosphorus, nitrogen, and other metals like boron.
Okay, so he turns his arm into that, and so...
Well, he turns into like a shooting kind of like foam spray that just goes over the fireball and just like dissolves it, so it's not there anymore.
Okay, so I would assume that Super-Skrull would be actually pretty impressed by that.
Heck yeah, he would. Heck yeah, he would. So right after that, he counters up by turning his left arm into titanium, and he forms a hammer at the end, and he just swings his arm like really long and really far and just smacks it right into the side of Super-Skrull.
Oh, okay, except that it doesn't smack into the side of Super-Skrull because it smacks into the side of Super-Skrull's force field.
Fuck.
That is invisible, that he created around himself, shielding himself from Metamorpho's hammer attack.
Okay, so Metamorpho's like, what? What was that?
And Super-Skrull, with one of his arms, he creates a long blade that he uses to just chop right through Metamorpho's arm that was stretched over toward him with the hammer.
Okay, so that chopped off arm turns into like a puddle of goo.
Uh-huh.
Which Metamorpho does with the rest of his body. And he like slithers on over to the rest of the goo and they like rejoin with each other.
So Super-Skrull sees Metamorpho like rejoining his body in like this liquid goo state. So he's going to attempt to kind of like restrain it by putting like a giant hand over the goo and like picking it up and like squeezing it.
Yeah, it'll just
hand.
like go through his fingers. It's like a liquid.
But the Super-Skrull can shapeshift and stretch to fill any gaps within his fist.
Okay.
So Metamorpho is like trapped in the Super-Skrull's hand. And that's when the Super-Skrull lights his hand on fire. So he's like boiling the liquid Metamorpho inside of his hand.
Well, I mean, boiling is not really gonna like hurt him because he turns into gas forms all the time. So let's say first he turns into like tungsten or like some like really like heat resistant metal and pierces a hole through the Super-Skrull's hands. At which point he escapes as a gas through that hole.
What kind of gas?
Knockout gas. Whatever chemicals those are made of. And he just like floats around Super-Skrull's face and makes him fall asleep.
Okay, that's not a bad move. Okay, so Super-Skrull is temporarily disabled through sleep.
Yes.
Well, Super-Skrull has no defense against being poisoned, so yeah, that would work against him. So now what happens?
That's when Metamorpho forms like blade arms of his own and cuts off Super-Skrull's arms.
Oh my god! Okay, well, here's the thing. That obviously wakes the Super-Skrull up out of his sleep because he just got his fucking arms chopped off. But the Skrulls have been known during the course of battle to give themselves extra arms.
Ah, shit.
So cutting off the arms of a Skrull, he'll just grow new ones in the place of where the holes were, as long as, you didn't cauterize them or anything like that.
No.
Which you didn't! So, at that point, Super-Skrull's like fucking pissed off. You don't even know how much you just fucking pissed him off. He's not gonna be nice. What he does is with his new arms, he wraps his arms around Metamorpho's body like a boa constrictor, and using the strength of the thing, he just rips Metamorpho apart into 2 pieces. And then he contains each of those pieces in their own separate force field so that they can't rejoin with each other. Now what's gonna happen?
Well, here's the thing. This has happened before where like Metamorpho explodes and then like fragments of him will become new Metamorpho. He even had a power for a while where he could duplicate himself really easily.
Oh, okay.
So now you're just facing up against 2 Metamorphos.
Yeah, but they're half the size.
No,
right?
Because like Shift, he was made just from a shard of Metamorpho, and he was a fully sized man.
Okay.
So now you're just going up against 2 Metamorphos.
All right.
Okay, I'm assuming these force fields are domes.
Yeah, they're like dome force fields.
Okay,
trapping
perfect.
Each one on the ground.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
So both of the Metamorphi turn into drills, and they just like drill down into the ground, and then they like meet halfway and
I lied, they were
reform.
spheres. They were spherical.
No, it's too late. It's too late. So now he's underground, and you just hear this like rumbling. And Super-Skrull's like, what? And that's when these like metal tentacles, like really strong metal tentacles, just like come up from the ground and grab Super-Skrull and just start pulling him down to the ground.
Well, I mean, Super-Skrull is super strong, so he breaks out of the tentacles, and he can fly, so he just flies up into the air to avoid the tentacles.
I don't know he could fly.
Yeah, can Human Torch fly?
Oh, yep.
Exactly.
Okay, so when he's in the air...
In addition, also, even if he didn't have the Human Torch's powers, Skrulls can give themselves wings like dragons or bats.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so Metamorpho fully...
And also...
Oh my fucking gosh!
And he also has Invisible Woman's powers, which can levitate him, just how Invisible Woman levitates herself.
Yeah, he can do so much. It's fucking awesome. Okay, so Metamorpho like fully pulls himself up from the ground, and he sees the Super-Skrull up in the air, so that's when he like ignites his lower half of his body into some kind of like propulsion chemical.
Like a rocket?
Yeah, like jet fuel. And he just like rockets himself towards the Super-Skrull.
Does he have lift?
Yeah, he has lift.
All right.
This is how he flies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or like sometimes you'll see him just like turn his lower half of his body into like some kind of gaseous form and just propel himself that way. Sort of like a genie almost.
Gotcha. I think I've seen him fly through the air via spring jump as well.
Yeah, he's done that before too.
Okay.
But as he's going through the air, he turns his body into like plastique. Okay, so he's just gonna fly up super fast towards the Super-Skrull and just like crash into him and explode his body with this like tremendous amount of force.
Like a bomb?
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. All right, so that'll probably send Klurt crashing back down to the earth. And with how much damage Metamorpho has done against him, he's hurt and he's even more pissed off than he was before. But he was able to reduce some of the blow of the explosion through his durability given to him through the powers of the thing.
Okay.
At this point, he may need to recoup just a little bit, so he's going to go ahead and turn himself invisible and hide basically from Metamorpho so he can't see him.
Okay, I mean, Metamorpho definitely needs to recoup too because he just exploded himself. So he's going to be like...
hurt Metamorpho when he does that? Does it hurt himself?
No, because he's made up of the element. Like the element doesn't get hurt by itself exploding, you know? But, you know, he is like kind of scattered everywhere with like shards and shrapnel. So he's like reconstituting himself.
Okay.
But he does that as a gas form because it's just easier for him to do it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as he's forming together, he knows that he can't see the Super-Skrull. So what he does in his gas form is he just kind of like moves around and just like feels for him and feels for areas where he can't go.
Oh.
So he's able to sense where the Super-Skrull is.
That's pretty smart. But I think that once the Super-Skrull realizes that he's been detected, what he does is
because it's like an invisible gas.
An invisible gas?
Yeah.
So they both turn invisible?
Yes.
You never stated that. I was assuming it was like a green gas or something like that.
No. It's like
oh my god.
What's found in basements? Carbon monoxide. That's what it is.
Well, I mean, like Super-Skrull could create a gas mask using a force field, so he's not going to breathe in the carbon monoxide. I don't even know if that would be harmful to a Skrull alien, but Probably. Anyway, what he does is, since he can't see Metamorpho, he's going to use the powers of the Human Torch to go supernova, which basically is so hot that it burns the atmosphere. Okay?
Okay.
So he's just burning everything around him right now in a fiery blaze.
Okay, so he's burning the gas.
Yeah.
Is carbon monoxide flammable? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's highly flammable.
Yeah.
That's why it explodes.
Yes.
Okay, shit. Well, bad move, my friend, because you just lit a match in a room full of carbon monoxide.
Big whoop. I mean, Super-Skrull is immune to heat.
Okay, so I guess Metamorpho explodes again. But this time he turns into a non-flammable gas that's actually like radioactive, okay?
Uh-huh.
And he just like descends upon the Super-Skrull, like giving him cancer.
It's so weird that you say that, because Super-Skrull in the comic books did have cancer, just like how Mar-Vell did.
Oh, really?
For a while, yeah. He was cured, though. So, yeah, he could die from cancer. But
So no matter what happens, Metamorpho wins in the long run.
Yeah, I don't know how sensitive that is, but it is a valid strategy, I guess. But I say that Metamorpho actually burns completely before he's able to become that non-flammable radioactive gas, whatever that is. What gas is that, Jonathan?
Oh, shit. Krypton?
Sure, whatever.
Yes.
But, wow, that was interesting. I guess we'll go ahead and leave our match there and find out who comes out on top through our simulations. So if Metamorpho wins, that means Klurt got super cancer and died quickly. And if Super-Skrull wins, that means Metamorpho was burned before he could pull that off.
Okay.
So let's take it to the simulations and come back with the winner. All right, we're back with the results. They weren't as comparable as I thought they were going to be, these two characters.
No, I mean, once you started
Stats-wise.
going into like the power set of Super-Skrull, I kind of realized that they were not that comparable. I mean, I think I put up quite a good fight during the speculation, but
Super-Skrull has like all the cool powers.
yeah, he is like completely like almost maxed out.
He's fast,
Almost.
he's strong. The one thing that Metamorpho does have over the Super-Skrull, though, is his durability. Now, of course, the Super-Skrull is as durable as the Thing, which is about as durable as you can get, but Super-Skrull can't survive being torn limb from limb. Metamorpho can. Metamorpho is virtually impervious to any sort of injury whatsoever.
That being said, you know, Super-Skrull also has invisible force fields, you know, which is something that Metamorpho doesn't have.
Yeah.
So the Super-Skrull is, you know, he still makes up for that. So he's lower on that stat just barely.
They were comparable in some stats, such as their range, you know, for the purposes of this battle, and their ability to evade attack. But I mean, Super-Skrull can go freaking supernova.
Yeah, that's
And Metamorpho.
that's a problem.
He could become combustible, and I'm sure he can turn into something that could get really, really hot, but I'm not sure he could get hot enough to do the damage that Super-Skrull can do.
No, I mean, elements could only get so hot on their own. It may depend on their environment, honestly. I know we don't take that into account, but I think in most environments, Metamorpho doesn't get anywhere near getting close to supernova heat level.
Yeah, most likely. Now that we ran all the stats, all the simulations, let's get the results.
Okay, I'm giving the results this time. So who do you think won?
Super-Skrull, obviously.
Well, you were wrong, my friend.
No, no.
I know. Super-Skrull won, but by how much?
I think it was a lot. I'm going to guess it was like probably like 85% of the matches.
What?
Super-Skrull
You
won.
think it's that high, huh?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you're right. It was 88.6% of the time Super-Skrull will beat Metamorpho.
Wow.
That is freaking ridiculous.
Yes!
Ah.
So out of 1,000 matches, Super-Skrull won 886 of them.
Right, and Metamorpho won 114. That is embarrassing.
It's more likely that the Ray versus Photon match would have been closer. It probably would have been a 50-50 coin toss match,
Right,
basically.
right.
But I think this was a lot more enjoyable for me personally.
Shut up.
Because Marvel laid the stomp down. It's rare that we get to do that, but always super gratifying.
This is a horrible matchup. What a horrible matchup. Just because they look alike? Barely? Damn it.
Yes. I mean, it seemed good on paper, right?
It did.
Yeah, in concept. But yeah.
It really hurts that like I know nothing about these Marvel characters. A lot of them that you're using.
Uh-huh.
Going
That's not my fault.
confident. You didn't know anything about Metamorpho either.
No, I didn't. That's true. But that's how the way life goes sometimes. And that's how this Duel episode went.
Ugh.
So go ahead and reach out to us, guys, via Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Go ahead and let us know what you thought about this matchup. And you can find links to all of our social media sites by visiting dynamicduel.com.
Which, As we mentioned in the last episode, we have just redesigned.
Yeah, definitely check it out. We have like all of our episode artwork up there. You can find the entire archive on the site, as well as like an About Us section where you could read about Jonathan and myself.
And a link to our merchandise, which if you use the link that's at the top of our site in our navigation bar, you can get 15% off your order.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Definitely use that. Get 15% off of, all the coolest Marvel and DC t-shirts and mugs and pillows and banners.
And phone cases.
And notebooks. You can get notebooks. It's awesome. Definitely take advantage of that, you guys. Again, visit dynamicduel.com. But yeah, again, that does it for this episode. In our next episode, we will be reviewing Captain Marvel. Finally, it's
Crazy.
here. We're going to be seeing it on Thursday, March 7th, just a few days from now. And really looking forward to it. Do you want to make any predictions about the film before we review it in our next episode?
I predict that the audience score, the tomato meter, is not going to be as high as other Marvel films.
Okay, I predict that the story is going to be non-linear, and I think that the film is going to make over $100 million in its opening weekend, domestically.
I also predict that Nick Fury is a Skrull.
Really? So the Nick Fury that's in Winter Soldier and the Avengers and all that, you think he's a Skrull?
I know it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and you're wrong. All right. We'll see exactly which predictions we get right and wrong next week. Don't forget to rate, review, share, and subscribe our show, especially with those people who may have iTunes and Apple Podcast accounts, so that we can get those ratings and you guys can help us reach that goal of becoming Rotten Tomatoes critics.
And so you can stop hearing about this.
Yeah. Until next week,
up and away.
true believers.